Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second session of this first day of ATypI Tech Talks. Is it? It is. Okay. So it's again a great opportunity, thanks to the fact that it is online, to see a much broader range of attendees and speakers. So we're not limited by geographical location nor by available budget for travel. So I think it's an exceptional opportunity to hear more diverse voices and to learn a lot more about things that we usually would not be exposed to. So a few details. What you see in Bizabo is there is a chat. The chat is the main chat is with a little speech bubble, but you will also see there is one button with a question mark. And this is where you will ask questions that we can save up for after the talk. So if anybody has questions or comes up with something when the talk is, when the presentation is running, please click first on the little question mark, and then you can ask your question there. So we don't have to scroll through the whole chat trying to find where the questions could be. That makes it a lot easier for us and makes it a lot more efficient.
Okay, now we can very happy to welcome our speaker here, Miss Menglei Xu. She's Chinese, but now she's now studying in Tokyo. She's the PhD student in Musashino Art University. And today she is giving us a session which is called the directionality of Chinese characters. So welcome, and I think our volunteer team can play the video first.
Hello everyone, my name is Menglei Xu. Everyone calls me Menglei. I am Chinese and I am currently studying for my doctorate at the Musashino Art University in Tokyo. In this session, I would like to share information with you about the directionality of Chinese characters, or Hanzi as it is called in Chinese. I've been looking forward to attend the ATypI event since I was a postgraduate student almost 4 years ago, when the ATypI community was held in Tokyo in 2019. So I am really excited to share my study specialty with you this time. So Chinese characters have over the ages being written with various directionality. The sequence of directionality use is indicated by these numbers, as you can see above. Some of these are traditional type and others are modern type. There is no record of top to bottom, left to right directionality ever having been used before the beginning of the 20th century. Some of the traditional directionality forms no longer in use. There are traditional types that are still in use. In conclusion, these kinds of directionality in this slide are being used nowadays. I have used the Roman alphabet to make this sample so it can be more easily understood. As you can see, these two examples of directionality aren't readable. This one has often been used with vertical Chinese or Japanese, and this type example in lowercase isn't usually used. When it was written in capital and sans serif, it can be used in title type, type logo, or title type, not for textual purposes. So why do Chinese characters have so many different kinds of directionality? That is because written Chinese comprises of monosyllabic script and ideographs. Just like I can read this group for 文字排印, each character has its own pronunciation and shape. Each shape has the same square size, but English is a multi-syllabic script. The length of the words are totally different. English syllables are made up of different letters of the alphabet in order to create the sound. You can't separate them into independent syllables. So, the layout of Chinese characters can take a number of directions and still be readable. The introduction of the letterpress printing system from the West into China virtually changed the patterns of Chinese writing and reading. You can see these two pictures. The characters from vertical to horizontal and traditional to simplified. The early missionaries chose Samsung modeled on the engraved woodblock printing of the Ming Dynasty because the Samsung typeface looks square and geometrical and was more suitable to typesetting with the alphabet. Nowadays, Chinese characters are designed using the CJK guide to make them look uniform inside. CJK guide means Chinese, Japanese, Korean type design guide. This is useful for designers and helps with legibility. But as we can see, the CJK guide is not very suitable for Fansong and regular scripts, which I will talk about later. The fact is that Chinese typesetting rules were influenced by letterpress printing, especially for metal typesetting. I'm assuming that most of you will know a fair bit about hot metal movable type, so I am focusing more on the engraved woodblock printing process in my presentation. At that time, traditional engraved woodblock printing was thought to be useless and behind the times. It is true that because of the difference between hot metal typesetting and engraved woodblock printing, hot metal typesetting is much more efficient and faster. But the advantage of engraved woodblock printing, the human physicality, can be reflected into the type shape and make it beautiful and unique. So I want to briefly show you the process of engraved woodblock printing. Here are the steps. At first, we have to prepare a sample of manuscript paper and use it to carve a panel of wood. Then, this wood panel is used to produce copies of the manuscript papers. Someone who is good at Chinese calligraphy is required to transcribe handwriting on the manuscript paper. The process of transferring calligraphy to the blocks for the preparing of the engraved surface can be seen here. As you can see, glue coating needs to be rushed on woodblock so the calligraphy can be adhered to the woodblock and transfers the writing ink. Then it's possible for the type to be engraved. The last step before engraving is to oil the block to make the type clearer to see. And this shows the process of how to carve the characters into the word. Even though I am showing the process for one character, it actually should be carved line by line. Apologies that I've gone into such depths on the background, so let's return to my theme, which is why I am focused on the directionality of Chinese characters. In order to understand what Chinese layout looked like before the introduction of movable type, I created this chronology in 2020. Firstly, before the beginning of the 20th century, directionality of Chinese characters had always been vertical and never been changed. Although through this chronology, we can follow the development of engraved woodblock printing over thousands of years. Influenced by massive demand, more efficiency was required. The engraved knife work became more streamlined, and the characters tended to be geometric. Finally, developing into the song style. It also be called song. But as we can see, the traditional engraved woodblock printing inherited many of the handwriting's properties, come up like the layout and the directionality. In the general Chinese aesthetic, we think the regular or Fangsong script is much more beautiful. Therefore, from the early 20th century to current times, many designers have been working hard to develop Fangsong fonts. My study also focuses on Fangsong script. I made this comparison so we can see the movable types which are influenced by the CJK guide and how they present a completely different look from that of traditional engraved woodblock printing. Here are the Fangsong scripts and the regular scripts. Let's take a look at this demonstration. These three, which I have marked with red dots, are movable type. For this one, I have manually adjusted the word spacing, so it looks much more like handwriting. You can see the difference through these guidelines. Okay, I also want to note that all of these samples are vertical. If we change the directionality, we can see the space between each character is totally different. Chinese characters are constructed by strokes, and these strokes are all lines. The space between each character and the next is bridged by the shape and the location of these strokes. And this inter-character spacing also differs between vertical and horizontal. Nowadays, Chinese font designers have to take the balance from each script to make it easy as possible for design, layout, and legibility. But by doing this, I think the identity and beauty for each Chinese script has been sacrificed. To gain a deeper understanding of the relationship between directionality and Chinese characters, I explored further back in time and analyzed the relationship between structure and typographic direction as found in ancient oracle bone scripts, bones inscriptions, clerical scripts, and regular scripts. Next, I will show you some of the process of my analysis. Here is the ancient oracle bone script between 14th to 11th centuries BC. It is said to be the most ancient script in China. Here are two paragraphs, which are symmetrical. We can read the right paragraph from top to bottom and right to left. The left paragraph can be read from top to bottom and left to right. So I rearranged these characters. The direction of this group is from left to right and top to bottom, and this is from top to bottom and right to left. We can obviously see when these characters are arranged horizontally, their heights are staggered and do not remain on the same line. But when they are arranged vertically, we can see each character has the same width. This makes the character group look more textural. The next slide shows bonsai inscriptions. When I rearrange these characters to a horizontal plane, since their heights can be staggered, it is hard to consider them as a textual. The other side, when the characters are horizontally arranged, they become justified to the left. This is an important point, that with the exception of Oracle-born script, Chinese characters are always justified. Through this bonsai inscription, we can see all these characters are intersections of lines. Each space of kerning is arranged. Next one is clerical scripts. Since this period, we can see that the shape of each character is tending to be consistent. When we extract individual characters for observation, the space between one character and the next is different from the vertical and horizontal. When Chinese characters tend towards a regular script form, they were tending to be in square box shape, but actually, Chinese characters have always been near square, not actually square. Early engraved woodblock printing inherits the structure and writing characteristics of a regular script, to some extent making them standardized. This kind of standardization is different from movable fonts. Movable fonts are metal blocks. It is limited on all four sides, but for engraved woodblock printing, Chinese characters are just limited by left and right for the vertical lines, so the space between the top and bottom of the script can be controlled subtly. If you want to know more about these vertical lines on Chinese traditional books, we can talk about it later. Then I analyzed these Nansong engraved printing books to understand more about printing structures and directionality. When I rearranged these characters on a vertical and horizontal, it is possible to analyze the difference. First of all, these Nansong engraved printing Chinese characters have some long left and or right strokes. So when arranging them into horizontal, they need a bigger wall space than vertical. Secondly, each character has its central inner space, and almost all of them are vertical. When the text is arranged vertically, the central inner spaces are in the same direction. This makes the character group look more textural. Here I have used black blocks to cover the central inner space, which helps us to see the shape of the strokes. They look different from the vertical and horizontal perspective. The strokes appear to extend in the same direction on the vertical. I think this is an interesting and important phenomenon. Finally, I marked the space between these characters. because the differences from stroke patterns and spaces for each side of every character, the red space will be different. Comparatively, the arrangement of Chinese characters looks tighter when arranged vertically because the strokes are generally stretched in the left and right directions. This applies to all the traditional Chinese characters shapes. On the contrary, for the current Chinese font design, we needed to take into account the extremely large numbers of characters and development efficiency. So we chose the same CJK guide and developed shared or variable strokes for quick font creation. In the process, the original stylistic beauty of Chinese characters has been lost. For Chinese characters, there is a great contradiction between technology and aesthetics. But I believe as technology continues to evolve, there will surely be a more suitable development system for Chinese character shape generation and typesetting in the future. The basis for the development of such a system is based on the analysis and redevelopment of traditional genres. This is all my presentation. Finally, I want to thank the ATypI team and my professor Shirai Yoshihisa, who is a great book designer and my favorite teacher. I couldn't manage my studies without his support. And in conclusion, I want to especially thank the Yangzhou Hanjiang engraved woodblock printing factory. I did some interviewing and recorded the printing process it uses. Nowadays, there are very few places in China that make engraved woodblock printing, and this is one of the few. Okay. Thank you to everyone for your time, and I hope to talk with you again next year in Paris. The question time is now open.
In the chat, there's a question. I think I can read it out and you can answer it again. The question is from Sivakayan, and he asks, in Oracle Bone script, are the characters oriented differently depending on whether the columns are arranged right to left or left to right?
Yeah, I have already answered it. I think the characters are different because of the content, not just for the direction. The content is different, so the direction is different. It depends on the aim of the content.
So I think even the same character, if it is written on in different colors, it will change the shape.
You mean the same character, the shape of the same character, or the different characters?
The same character.
No, it will not change the shape of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. It's just different from the directionality, not for the shape.
Okay.
Yeah. Will the same character be written different? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I answered it. So it is possible.
Also, there is a question from Ye Hang Ying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our friend.
Yeah. So is it possible to transform the rhythm of the vertical woodblock printing to horizontal? Yeah, that's his question.
I'm also thinking about it, and I think it depends on the new technology. Yeah, because as you can see in my presentation, in my slide, the shape between the characters on vertical and horizontal is different. So if the type design can think about it, and it should be designed differently from vertical way and horizontal way, I think, if the technology can do it.
For the character itself.
Yeah. No, not just for the character itself. And I think it also related on the shape between them, like kerning in alphabet, but it is a little different, I think.
Yeah. So I think that that is his question, because he's asking about the transforming the rhythm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think the rhythm is different from vertical and horizontal.
Yeah.
Because the shape is different.
Okay, I see. Eves is back again.
Can we read Chinese from all directions? Yeah. Yes, you can read it from all directions if you can understand Chinese, because we can read any directionalities, even it is wrong, but we can understand it. We can understand the meaning of the Chinese.
Because of the wording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left, right, folding strokes have already.
And a question from Luke. Verticality is strongly linked to the movements of the hand to drawings and the text, right?
Yeah.
Some characters will rather initiate horizontality. Perhaps this is also related to the holding of the tool.
Yes, it is deeply influenced by the tools and the human handwriting. So I'm also considering about how to make nowadays fonts looks much more like human writing. But as your question and In just asked, the shape of Chinese character is different from horizontal and vertical, but nowadays type design is considering to make them as a same thing, but I think they are different. So I hope in the future the type design can think two way to design them. I'm not sure if you can understand my English very well. But I think Eric can understand me, so you can translate it for everyone.
But yeah, Luke said thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Since no problem. And next one, the Raphael asks, "Hey Menglei Xu, do you think this directionality issue can be solved through specialized algorithm for horizontal spacing in order to match that of the vertical for digital layout based on the negative shape of each character?"
You are asking me a question that I am very confusing nowadays, actually, because I'm a little bit weak at math and new technology. So yeah, that's true. So I want to tell everyone about that. So I'm keeping learning about the history, and I found a lot of materials from the history, but I haven't learned enough about the nowadays technology. So I hope everyone can help me, and I will keep learning about yeah, algorithm about type design. So yeah, I will thinking about in the future. thinking about this question in the future.
But basically, you have to investigate the differences between the negative shape in vertical, then considering how to transform it in horizontal.
I almost think it is impossible. So I think we should to think two ways to design them.
Two-way, different.
Yeah, different way to design them.
Not transform the vertical one to the horizontal,
Yeah,
but design them differently, totally differently.
yeah, I think so. Because the shape between the characters are different.
Yeah.
If we made them same, they will look not it will look very geometric or not like human writing, and it's simply say it is not beautiful, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we have a lot of questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Here's the question from Andre. What about the impact of the formal change of a simplified Hanzi on the aesthetics? Any impact on the horizontal or vertical writing for simplified Chinese?
Simplified, as you can see, the materials I showed in my slide, it mixed the simplified Hanzi and the traditional Hanzi. But nowadays we use the simplified Hanzi mostly. Even though some fonts are still be designed in the traditional Chinese Hanzi, but I think the simplified Hanzi will be the mostly used by us. So I think in the future we have, first of all, we have to think the shape of the simplified of Hanzi, and then we will think how to make the traditional aesthetics into the simplified Hanzi. So as I said just now, I want to understand the traditional way, to thinking about the relationship on the vertical way, and then make the series into design the simplified Hanzi on horizontal. I'm not sure if I understand this question well.
It may be hard to understand without any examples.
Images, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, yeah.
But you can, but if you are interested in this question, you can email me and I will answer you later. I can send you some images or some materials.
Thank you, yeah.
Can I send my email into this chat box?
Yes, yeah, please, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I also ask a question?
Yes, please, you are moderator.
Yeah, I know, but first attendees can ask questions. No, I was wondering, so you're saying that more and more in modern Chinese, that the direction becomes horizontal instead of vertical. And I was thinking, does do digital media have a role in this? Because the basic functionality of a website is reading, like scrolling vertically. So, for example, if the scrolling were happening horizontally, there would not really be a need for changing direction, because then you could read like line by line in a horizontal fashion. And it's just because we're scrolling vertically that the change happens too, that has an influence.
Yeah, you asked a great question. Because in a lot of situations and in the website design, the characters in the Chinese characters are being designed from the left to right and on the horizontal way. But that is because our policy or our ability that made that happen. But in Japanese, they still have the ability to read on the vertical way. So they will design some like ebooks that can be read from right to left and on the vertical way.
Okay.
And even they have some websites that can be read from right to left.
Oh,
so
great.
yeah, if we want design like that way, I think the technology can do that. So I think it will be possible.
Oh, great.
Well, as member of the W3C experts, I I should explain that the CSS have all the total vertical layout, so it's no problem now for ebooks or for website.
Okay.
To do the vertical, and if the text are vertical, you scroll the left to right, and you can change.
All right.
And everything change, change the logical order. So
And can the user change it, or is it the person who designs documents that has to set it? Is there like a button that you can change from the horizontal to vertical direction?
in ebooks, yes, it depends. Because it depends for the to the applications to give the option for to the user. But technologically it can, because it's a flow. If the layout is a flow one, not the fixed one, the machine can do it easily right now.
I see a comment from Luke. A real pleasure for UX designers and developers, he's saying, Luke.
Yeah.
Raphael also has a question. He asks, do you also think horizontal type layout fits simplified Chinese better than traditional Chinese, which tends to have more dramatic texture changes? Vertical layout seems to work better for traditional textual layout.
Vertical layout seems to work better for traditional textual layout. Yes, I think if we just think about the economically, it will be better. But when we think about the aesthetic of Chinese characters, we need to think about which will be better, because I think we can't just think about the economically, right? Because we have a lot of technologies. It's the time that we can rethink about the aesthetics of Chinese characters. So even I think it will be better to use the vertical layout or simplify Chinese characters, but it can be changed. And I also think it should be changed, and it should be rethinking about by lots of people, by type designers or or engineers, or
Any more questions? I think we are at the end. I think we had all the questions. It's 4:45. This gives people ample time to move towards the next session or to come to the Hangout room. So if anybody is interested in continuing the conversation, Menglei, do you have a little bit of time to come to the Hangout room? Can you stick around?
Yeah, because I'm reading the question that In asked in the question box.
There's still questions?
Yeah.
I think we had all of them.
My home thesis is that the left-right folding strokes have already evolved to be fitting for the vertical writing, so transforming that into horizontal can be challenging. Yes, it's really changeable. As the Chinese type designers did in these 50 years, I think they are trying their best to make the Chinese characters as better as they can be on the horizontal way. So, let me think. Sorry, let me think a little bit. Transforming that into horizontal can be changing. It will be a very big changeable, because as Eric sometimes told me that Chinese characters have so many characters. We have to think a lot of. I can't count it, but I think that's really huge patterns of the shape between characters on the vertical and the horizontal. So it will be a large huge. So we can do it together.
Yeah, maybe we can have the discussion in the hangout room. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he will join us in the hangout room for the details.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank Menglei for this very interesting presentation. It was, you said at the end of your presentation, let's talk in Paris, but like I said, we can talk a bit more in Hangout Room if anybody wants to.
Okay. So see you in the Hangout Room.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.